Hi, it's Trevor Emden here coming at you. It's Sunday. I've got my coffee here, and I was going to write you an email, and then as I was thinking about how to explain it, I thought it's going to be a bit. There's too much to put in an email. But what I want to tell you is really important about attracting money. So I won't keep you long because I know it's Sunday and you're probably with your family or whatever it is you're doing. So let me just join up some dots for you here. Just try a little experiment for me, would you? In the next 20 seconds, whatever you do, don't think of an elephant. Don't think of elephants at all. Don't think about any elephants in the jungle, in the circus, in the zoo. Just whatever you do, put all elephants out of your mind. Now, you've probably heard that silly game before, but what's happening? Of course, you're thinking about elephants. And in fact, every time I mention elephants, you have no choice but to have elephants trundling through your head, right? So, silly game, but it makes a point. You can't tell your brain not to do something because the subconscious mind doesn't understand not. It simply hears the tangible instruction and follows it like a faithful puppy almost. Now you're thinking of puppies, right? Now, that becomes important when you have money worries. So what you then do is say to yourself, right, I'm not going to focus on the debt or whatever it is. I'm not going to focus on the overdraft. And of course, the same thing happens. As soon as you do that, your subconscious faithfully obeys and focuses on exactly what you consciously don't want to be thinking about. Now, in terms of the law of attraction, that goes completely against the grain, of course, but now you're caught in a loop. Now, in case you are skeptical about the law of attraction, that's fine, and I don't have time here today to explain it in depth, obviously, and neither am I here to defend it. But just consider this. If you're stuck in a situation, any situation, but let's talk about money for a moment. If you're stuck in some kind of situation, then what is happening is that you're looking at a kind of a loop tape. What I mean by that is that you look at the situation and you tell yourself, this is my reality. And the more you do that, especially if it's a worrying situation, and money can take up a lot of time and mental energy, as well as physical energy, just the tension and the anxiety about it if it's serious, can be really bothersome. So what that does is you look at that and you say to yourself, that's how things are. And then you get into a more and more tense state. It's how things are, it's how things are, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? And the more you do that, the more you focus on that being your reality, and the more you then keep it just going through the same loop. What you need to do, of course, is to focus on the positive outcome, money in plentiful supply, the situation resolved in some way. But I know from personal experience of struggling with money as well, at times, that's very hard to do. So I can tell you in a nutshell, the antidote is to change your state. Right? It's not what am I going to do that comes first, it's how am I going to be. And to that end, for myself originally, I started working out a process, because remember, if you know me, you'll know that I'm trained in something called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and law of attraction was something that I was very interested in, but I couldn't figure out how to make it work, which is a kind of a silly thing to say, because it's like saying, how do I make gravity work? I now understand. But for the sake of keeping this short, I couldn't figure that out until I applied my NLP to the process and realized that when you change the way you are, your thoughts change, your attitude changes, your decisions change, you get a flow of ideas, as well as you seem to attract opportunities and doors start opening up. And time and time and time again, I've attracted money. Now I'll tell you one story which is still the standout story so far in my life about money, just to illustrate that. And it goes back to, I think, about 1999. And I'd come back from Hawaii, where I'd been on a Tony Robbins event. Had a wonderful, wonderful time, really empowering, life-changing event. Now, I'd done that on absolutely no money. I got from the UK to Hawaii and back, and to an extraordinarily expensive course, as I saw it at the time, in one of the most expensive places in the world, Maui, Hawaii, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going back there again someday soon. But I've been all the way out there. I lived on apples, muffins, free handouts that Tony actually gave out during the process. It was over 4 days, and I maxed out every line of credit that I had to be there, because my philosophy was, well, these opportunities don't come around very often, if ever again, and I will figure out a way to get the money back, which I did. But on the when I got home from that amazing experience, there was a pile of letters this thick from my bank saying, you're overdrawn. We've not cashed that check. We've not paid that person. Everything had bounced. I was completely out of money. I mean, absolutely zero. Couldn't even put petrol in my car. Had to borrow money from my girlfriend at the time, just to get to the shop to buy groceries, and had to borrow money for that as well, because what was left in the freezer wasn't very much. So, and I had no job. I had no regular job. I was running a stop smoking clinic at the time, but it depended on the phone ringing and people responding to my adverts, and I couldn't afford to take out any more advertising. So I was relying on whatever there was. So, what did I do? Now, I could have panicked. And I was very tempted to. That was my knee-jerk reaction response. Panic. But I'd just been on one of the most uplifting, life-changing courses I've still to this day ever been on in my life. It was an amazing event, and I'd been to one of the most beautiful parts of the planet as well. So I was just full of this, like, I feel good about myself. I feel good about life. I'm making it. I'm gonna make it. But I'm a success. I had all that change in my energy. However, there I was back in reality, looking at a pile of letters saying you have no money. And literally, I really didn't have any money. I had no line of credit left, no visible means of income. I was about 2 weeks away from the rent, I think. And no real sense of how to turn things around. No real idea. So the what do I do question just drew a blank every time. I would ask myself, what am I going to do? And there wasn't an answer. I couldn't afford to take out any advertising, as I said. So what did I do? I made a conscious decision that I would not allow myself to get into a negative mindset at all. I would not worry or panic about it, and that I would stay with the high energy that I'd had this amazing experience that I'd had kind of built into me over these 4 days in Hawaii with Tony and about 2,000 other people. So, sip of coffee. So I stayed with it. I made myself do it. I consciously made myself put myself back in that state every day. Every time I caught myself going, oh, the phone hasn't rung, still no clients, still no money, I made myself say, hang on, it's all cool. And I made up a little ritual at the time. It's a long time ago now, but I made it so that I anchored that in. I used my NLP. I anchored it in. I used some of the stuff that I remembered Tony talking about as well. But I made it happen. I made it happen. And if you can imagine, how many days could you go with absolutely no money and no visible means of income? I didn't go looking for jobs. I knew I didn't want a job, and I wouldn't have got one in time to get paid anyway. I just stuck with, it'll be okay. The dreams will come true. And a day goes by. Nothing happens. I make myself stay on top of it mentally. Another day, and then another, and then another. 10 days. Well, in fact, 9, to be strictly truthful. 9 empty, phoneless, moneyless days, living on the goodwill of strangers and friends and a girlfriend at the time, and scraps. And I really remember refusing to go into any negative mindset. On the 10th day, the phone rang. It wasn't a client, it was a colleague, a lady from Ireland, whom I'd met twice in my life. I did remember who she was, but I would barely have recognised her if I'd bumped into her in the street. She wasn't someone that I knew well. And I had no idea why she was phoning me. She was phoning from Dublin. And in the background was a lot of noise at her end. Voices talking and phones ringing. And she reminded me who she was. She was a stop-smoking therapist from Dublin. And she said to me, "Can you hear all that noise in the background?" And I said, "Yeah. What is it?" And she said, "Well, I've managed to be on television over here. And I've, on air, cured 3 celebrities from smoking using the method that we're trained to teach." I said, "Wow, well done, congratulations. What's it got to do with me?" And she said, "Well, the noise you can hear in the background is," she said, "I'm actually in my home, but I've had 2 extra phone lines installed in my kitchen. I have friends behind me who are taking the calls." She said, "I've had 2,000 phone calls in 10 days. And the phones are still ringing." I said, "Wow." She said, "There's no way I can possibly see all of these people. Can you fly over and help me mop up?" And I said, "Yeah. You'll have to buy my ticket." She said, "No problem." So that's what I did. Now, I used to see people in groups. I went over for 10 days. I worked 9 of them. So you can work this out for yourself. She'd hired a room in a hotel, small sort of lounge really, that would comfortably hold 18 people, plus me. And I was doing a clinic in the morning and a clinic in the afternoon. So that's 36 people a day. Each client paid roughly the equivalent of about £100. So that was £3,600 a day coming through the door, as it were. Now, we had to take some expenses out of that, including the hotel I was staying in, and of course some admin fees for the lady herself who'd organised it all. But then after we'd done that, we just split the money 50-50. So if you like, you can say, well, £3,600 a day. Let's say we were splitting £2,500 a day between us. And so I picked up in wads of cash over £1,000 a day for 9 straight days. Out of nowhere. Now, I asked her later, "Why did you call me? You don't know me." And she said, "Well, I didn't actually want you. I wanted a mutual friend who was another colleague in the organisation at the time. And he wasn't available. And he said, 'Try Trevor.' And she said, 'But I don't know Trevor.' And he said, 'Well, we've both just come back from Hawaii,' because he'd been on this program with Tony Robbins as well. He said, we both come back from Hawaii. She said, oh, well, in that case, he'll have the same sort of bouncy energy as you. So that the very fact that I'd actually taken that big step as well had a knock-on effect of that offer coming my way. But I came home with thousands of pounds, my pockets and wallets stuffed with cash that kept me going for months and months and months. Now, coincidence? I'll leave you to decide that one. But what I know is my mindset made the difference. She actually said, I want somebody with this outgoing energy. Right? And so that actually helped. It actually made a difference. I'm sure if I'd answered the phone and gone, hello, 10 days with no money. And I don't remember how I answered the phone now, but I know what state of mind I was in. So, why am I telling you all this? Because I put together, for myself originally, I needed to be sure that, because I knew that I wanted to be, and I am, free of having a job, or I knew that I wanted to be able to write books, write programs, help people, do coaching, counseling, and that's what I now do. I've been doing that now 100% of my time for 2.5 years as I record this, without a problem. But the money ebbs and flows. It's a roller coaster. There's no such thing as payday anymore. I never know from 1 week or 1 month or even 1 day to the next how much money will come in. Sometimes no money comes in. I have to live with that. So the mindset is massively important. Now, you may not be in that situation. You may or may not want to be in that situation. But if you are struggling for money, or you ever do struggle for money, then I suggest you pick up Stop Worrying and Grow Rich. And just have it available. Have it on your computer, print it out. It's an ebook, and it's there's some audios, there's some hypnosis in there as well, some NLP techniques to help you do it. Because it's all about mindset. Money is attracted to value. And if you are in a mental state of, isn't everything awful, and I'm worried and frightened, that doesn't emit that energy of, wow, I want to be around that person. Opportunities don't come your way. Now, that's an absolutely true story I've just told you. There are many more, none with quite such a spectacular, immediate outcome of that much in one go. But money has come from all sorts of places, out of the blue, when I would say almost always, at a point when I really need it now. I need it now, and it comes. And it's all to do with having this and this, your heart, head and heart, set right. And that's what I put down in Stop Worrying and Grow Rich, and turned it into a program that anyone can use. There's a bunch of bonuses in there as well, including 999 money-making ideas. Some of them are a bit obvious, I think, but there's 999. So the idea of putting that in there as a bonus was like, if you're really, really stuck, there's just little pokes. Something's gonna tweak your mind. Oh yeah, I could do that that would do, and that will start the ball rolling. So there'll be a button below this video. It's around about $25 as I speak. It's going up with each sale though, because its real price is $47, so it's discounted at the moment. But each time somebody buys it, the price gets closer and closer to $47. So if you want it for a bargain price, then pick this up. And by the way, don't think of elephants. Have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you soon.